Faan van der Walt joins us now, the CEO of We Buy Cars. And Faan, a very, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon to all the listeners.
I was surprised when I read earlier today that you'd only for the first time very recently driven a Chinese car.
And what a pleasant surprise it was indeed. I was actually visiting Cape Town for a few days, and I decided to take the leap and take a Haval off our floor to drive. And man, oh man, it was unbelievable. We always historically associated Chinese cars with poor quality, poor resale value, and generally inferior. But that certainly is history now, and certainly no longer the case.
Because I've been fortunate enough to drive, I would think, probably 9 or 10 over the last year, and I've been hugely impressed with each one of them, whether it is the Aura, the electric car, which I think at just over 600,000 is by some distance the cheapest full electric car available in South Africa, the 4x4, the GWM tank, that sort of thing. But when you're making a decision, I think more and more people, the retail figures are obvious. More and more people are buying Chinese cars, and that's largely driven by the value proposition. More and more you're getting more bang for less buck with a Chinese car than you are with a traditional American, Japanese, Korean, German, French car. Have they been around in sufficient numbers for long enough for something like We Buy Cars to start to understand the second-hand market for them?
Yeah, some of these manufacturers have been around now for quite a while.
Haval, chief amongst them, yeah.
Haval, GWM, Cherry, the likes of those. But they are, I recently had a count, and there's more than 15 Chinese manufacturers currently available in South Africa. So, and compared to the number of Chinese manufacturers in China, that's actually a very small number, because there are literally hundreds of vehicle manufacturers in China competing in that market. So many of those manufacturers are now trying to expand their market internationally. So my message to a consumer would be to be cautious, because not all of them will make it. It's great to have new manufacturers in South Africa whose products are now available, and they're competing in the market, and we're getting good value for money. But just like we've seen certain European makes try to establish themselves in South Africa historically, and they didn't make it, I'm sure that some of these Chinese manufacturers will also throw in the towel at some point. So you might end up purchasing a vehicle that has a very poor resale value, because they're no longer represented in South Africa. So rather stick with the known Chinese brands for now, until these other brands build a reputation as being reliable and around for the long run.
I don't know whether you do calculations like this, but I mean, let's say you take a Toyota, a car which has been part of South Africa for a very long time, very good track record in terms of resale value, after sale care, all of those things. And you take a 2022 model that's done 30,000 kilometers, and you take one of the Chinese vehicles with roughly the same number of kilometers, the same year of manufacture, and you look at the differential between new car price and second-hand price. What's happening there? Obviously, folk are enthusiastic about the new Chinese cars. Are they equally enthusiastic about second-hand Chinese cars?
Definitely. Our Chinese brands that we sell as used vehicles do really, really well. In fact, they don't stick around for long. They sell really quickly, because just as there's a demand for them as new vehicles, there's definitely also a demand for them as used vehicles. So statistically, they do well, and they're profitable, and they sell really quickly, and they're in high demand. So from a second-hand value perspective, I would say most of these vehicles are already in a price bracket where there are plenty of buyers around, so they don't have steep depreciation curves. You could typically buy a high-end Chinese vehicle for around 450 to 500,000 rand. So it's very, very, very competitive if you consider that's the price you pay for a high-end Corolla or Polo. So second-hand, there aren't many around because most of these manufacturers have just brought these vehicles in. People are happy with them, they keep them. So they are fairly scarce second-hand. So they tend at the moment to have relatively good second-hand values.
Nice to know. Faan van der Walt, CEO of We Buy Cars, thank you very much for your time.